back live this Thursday. We are here with a special guest. We have Jordan Garner in the building, in this virtual building right now. And I'm very excited about this conversation today. Jordan is the VP of Success and Partnerships for Mulberry Technology, and the reason why I wanted to talk to Jordan today is because their company is covering a very hidden part of customer experience. But before we get into that, Jordan, please tell us more about who you are and how did you get into e-commerce?
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. Who am I? Well, so my journey into e-commerce, I guess, I don't know, probably pretty traditional. I actually went to school to be an engineer, a developer, started my career building web-based applications and websites, but really wanted to kind of, I just noticed there were a lot of holes between people that were technical and spoke kind of technical language, and then folks that knew the business side really well, the commercial side. And so in my first role out of college, I was helping to kind of bridge that gap at a company called Conductor. They're in the marketing technology space, originally, really focused on SEO. And obviously we did a lot with e-commerce companies there because SEO, of course. And so I got into a client-facing role where I was working with companies to, guide their content strategy and SEO strategy specifically. Moved over then to work at a full-service digital marketing agency called iAcquire, that again worked with a lot of e-commerce, not exclusively e-commerce, but a lot of e-commerce on just optimizing kind of online presence. And then moved over to work at a company called Trustpilot, which is another e-commerce SaaS kind of in the marketing tech space. Again, not just e-commerce, but a lot very e-commerce heavy, where we were focused on building online trust via reviews, online reviews. And so spent, a long time kind of just during a very critical time when marketing technology and e-commerce trends, especially those around SEM and building your online brand, were really changing. The landscape was really changing. And it was so clear that given all these trends with consumers wanting to kind of take control and really choose the business that they were going to spend their money with based on who could provide the best service, because there got to be so many places where you could ultimately buy the same product. So it was a really interesting time in the landscape. So then I actually went on to spend a few years at a little company called WeWork. Maybe you've heard of it, a little bit outside of the e-commerce space. And then finally landed at Mulberry. So a little bit of a windy road. But it's a really amazing space to be in, e-commerce right now. There's still so much room to innovate, I think. And what we're starting to see is the convergence of offline and online shopping and consumer behaviors and a continuation of the buyer journey across both, omni-channel, not even a thing anymore, really just one channel like the world, and everybody's, buyer journey being really specific and different to that. So yeah, really excited to be here, as I said.
Yeah, so you switched a lot of roles, but somehow you have always been, I guess, in contact with the the customer experience part of the business. So I mean, I know what Mulberry does because I researched, of course, before I invited you and before the podcast. But tell us more about what is the problem that Mulberry is fixing for the e-commerce, the e-commerce industry for the merchants.
Yeah. So I think the best way to describe the problem that Mulberry's trying to solve for merchants is actually starting with the consumer side, which is Mulberry is selling products which are extended product protection and warranties. And that is really a subcategory within insurance that really has not been innovated against in a long time. So if you're a consumer, maybe your last experience with an extended product protection plan or warranty was maybe you bought yourself a nice new coffee maker, you got the box, you opened it up, there was like a postcard in it that said you could fill it out with a pen and mail it in to, redeem your extended warranty or something like that. Obviously, it was just really ripe for innovation. I think a lot of consumers not maybe didn't even have a positive or a negative connotation with extended warranties and product protection, maybe just nothing, just like, what's that? There was just a lack of transparency and education for consumers. So Mulberry saw an opportunity to really innovate against how those products are sold. And the way that they saw to do it was to actually partner with merchants and mostly online retailers to build in the purchase of these items right into the existing buyer journey, existing e-commerce buyer journey. And there's just a lot of positives to that. First of all, the consumer getting the protection plan that they actually need based on the product that they're buying, the consumer having exposure to and really understanding the coverage of the extended warranty, especially as it compares to the manufacturer's warranty or limited warranty, if there is one. And then, of course, a much more seamless buying journey for the consumer, where they do not have to separately register for their extended product protection or warranty, that they can just, through buying their item, add, the product protection to cart. And then no additional registration is needed. And so Mulberry just saw a huge opportunity to partner with e-commerce retailers, and in the same way kind of democratize the availability of offering these types of programs to all retailers. For a long time, offering these types of programs was something only really, really big companies could afford to do. It was a long, arduous process to partner with an insurance company to offer these plans, to go through every single SKU that you sold, every single item you sold, and match it to, a protection plan that made sense. And of course, the whole compliance and legal side, making sure that you're licensed to sell these plans in every state, let alone every country, has their own rules around it. So what you had really big companies like Best Buy and Amazon who are able to offer these. And then really anybody below that, the scale and the resource and even the money that was required to get one of these stood up just didn't make sense. And so it just became one more thing that was kind of like tough for a new, especially like a smaller e-commerce shop to get into the world is, if you're selling an item that a consumer can go buy on Amazon, and on Amazon they can get, 2 additional years of product protection or whatever, then they would just go there. And it was just a huge bummer that smaller e-commerce shops or even medium-sized e-commerce shops couldn't stand up one of these programs, and therefore were missing that piece of differentiation from larger retailers. So Mulberry basically focused on 2 areas, completely innovating the consumer experience as it relates to buying and later engaging with these programs, so claims process, et cetera. And then secondly, building a set of integration tools that make it extremely easy and extremely fast for online retailers of any size to offer these through their existing buyer journeys, and subsequently get the benefit of additional revenue, a better customer experience for their consumers, not missing out on having this available to their consumers in the first place. And hopefully, building a cycle where consumers are, brand loyal to that retailer for a very long time. Because if your item breaks, which items do, if you're able to get a replacement for no additional charge because you have one of these plans, that's going to be a much better experience and keep you in that company's ecosystem than having to look elsewhere. So that was a lot of words, but that's the general idea.
Cool. I just want to basically condense what you said to the fact that you guys saw an opportunity in the non-consumption area, where people like smaller brands or e-commerce direct to consumer brands didn't have access to this possibility to offer their consumers this extra safety net, and then you guys found a place to go and innovate there. So you gave access to smaller brands to the opportunity of playing the same type of convenience card as Amazon is and other companies. So I think it's really cool. I'm always a fan of new market innovation. And I want to talk to you a bit about the customer journey in general. Customer journey has become a very popular topic in the last maybe months, because before it wasn't that sexy to talk about it. So I want to ask you, from your, from what you see from the e-commerce companies that you work with, do you think e-commerce companies, direct to consumers companies, have a smooth customer journey? What's your opinion? How it's done so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think e-commerce companies are doing a great job in just trying to challenge a lot of the assumptions around what an e-commerce customer journey should be, and trying to continue to innovate and improve it. And that has especially been challenged during COVID, when there's been so many problems with inventory and shipping delays, and you know, and so I think people have really started to think outside of the box. And I've just been so impressed with the e-commerce space generally, and continuing to innovate there. First of all, in a lot of technologies and kind of experience related issues around the actual like purchasing the item, more transparency, more options for consumers. Being able to obviously save like payment information, just make things a lot smoother and easier, especially mobile friendly also, which has been in the
Mhm.
works for a while. A lot of retailers even taking on producing their own apps and things like that, to make an even smoother mobile experience. And then also post-purchase. I think, for a long time there was a thought that like the customer journey ended with checking out and thank you for buying. But it
Mhm.
doesn't, right? There's until the item is in the hands of the consumer, which nowadays could be longer than usual due to COVID delays. Um, there's a lot of space there to do cool stuff with consumers, to give them even more transparency to what's happening with their item, and giving them more ways to engage with the brand, whether it's advocacy type things like writing reviews, whether it's downloading an app if there's an experiential component to the item. One interesting subcategory in e-commerce that's really been blowing up, and I think that's been really leading the charge in a lot of this innovation, is at home like exercise equipment, because with COVID, people going to gyms was less of a reality, and so really creating like a 360-degree consumer experience that just doesn't involve just getting your Peloton bike or your mirror, workout equipment or whatever it is, but creating a lot more experiences and engagement with the community through an
Mhm.
app. I think has been so neat to see, and I think other companies are starting to look at that too. You look at companies that traditionally have sold home decor and furniture; they're starting to create a design community, right? And it's really, I think it's bringing together some of the concepts that we traditionally seen, content marketing. Here's content that we write for consumers, and then separately we have this e-commerce journey and cart, etc. And really starting to just bring it all together in one continuous experience for consumers. And it's just been really, really neat to see. So I've been so impressed with everyone innovating, and always excited to see what's next for e-commerce.
So I it's awesome because you're very positive about it, which is good, because you're kind of giving me some sort of that positivity. I'm always, like, the devil as advocate, and I like to ask questions that create meaning and contrast. So I have a friend that says that talks about this concept of customer journey versus company journey. So the company journey is to get the consumer to buy. Obviously, that's it, by all means. And the customer journey reflects basically some sort of path that is convenient for the consumer, is transparent for the consumer, and it's personalized based on the consumer's choices. So I think what you guys are doing, it's somehow tapping into that consumer journey, the real one, not the company's journey. But I wanna ask you one question. So when you guys emerged in the market with this solution, how did the e-commerce, how did the direct to consumer brands reacted to it? Were they reluctant in the beginning? Were they just embraced the solution fast?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a little bit of trepidation just because it's something new. It traditionally has like some legal baggage attached to it that can be intimidating to a small brand. And I think more than anything, anybody that is in e-commerce knows that your to-do list of things that you want to get done to build a better customer journey, to get more revenue, whatever it is, it never ends, right? You never check off everything. It's a growing list, and you have limited hours in the day and limited resources to implement them. So I think the biggest hesitation that we saw was just, where should this fall in my priority list? A lot of e-commerce shops these days have very small staffs, especially in comparison to kind of what they're selling and the consumer bases that they have. And so it's a prioritization thing, right? Is this worthwhile? And, the last thing they want is to implement something that's going to add more items to their to-do list. So I think, when we first launched, it was us really understanding, well, what are the resources that are available, and how can we make this as lightweight as humanly possible, both for the initial integration and launch, and then the ongoing support of both the technical side, but also the customer journey and customer support side. We want it to be as close to something as set it and forget it as possible, but set it and forget it doesn't really exist in e-commerce, because you should be always iterating and looking for ways to optimize. So anyone that says they have a set it and forget it e-commerce solution, I would, call them out on that, because I don't think that's something. But if you can get it to a place where it's lightweight to launch, where there isn't risk associated with it, where there isn't risk where it's going to hinder the existing customer journey, where it's additive, where it feels cohesive and seamless to your existing buyer journey and your branding that you spent so much time and energy on, and where any iteration and optimization over time is really, really easy and seamless as well. That's what we tried to build to overcome that with retailers, because e-commerce retailers' to-do lists, they're not getting shorter, they're just getting longer. And so that's the approach we really tried to take, and we've seen it be really, really successful, in the sense that even post-launch, a lot of the optimization of the program that can be done completely by us, without having to take precious hours and resources from the retailer. So that's been the main hesitation for merchants, is just the resource involved, and where should this go in my existing priority list. And I think our point is, the best time to launch one of these programs, to offer these products to your consumers, is today, or it's actually yesterday. But since you can't do yesterday because we don't have time machines invented, today is because if consumers are looking for this product and they can find it elsewhere, that could be the difference between a conversion and a non-conversion. So, yeah.
So what are some some verticals that you guys are working with primarily? Because I like what you have in your header message on the website. It says drop, spill, scratches, and surges, and this makes me think automatically about the consumer packaged goods industry, where it's a lot of food, it's a lot of beverages, it's a lot of products that are perishable. So is this one of your top users for your technology?
Yeah, so mainly durable goods that are involved in the home and kitchen. That's our biggest. So furniture, rugs, mattresses, appliances, workout equipment, as I mentioned. So not the actual food and beverage, but the things that can be impacted by them. A lot of us have been cooped up in our homes for the last 12 months with pets, with small children. And, obviously they introduce a lot of accidents. So we do have a lot of ranging coverage options, for an appliance where maybe a spill or a tear isn't as relevant, and it's more extending the length of the appliance, which you want to last a long time. We have coverage for that. And then separately, things like rugs and mattresses, which are very susceptible to life's accidents. We do have coverage that includes, any accidents that could happen as well. Luggage and baggage is huge as well. People really, I think there's a real interesting trend in that space of people wanting to buy really high quality luggage that's going to last a long time. But obviously, once you hand over your luggage to that airline employee, it's, future is a little out of your hands. So having that security with that jewelry and watches. Obviously, these are things that often have a lot of not only monetary value, but sentimental value. People really want to take care of those items. So those are some of our biggest verticals, but it's really anything, any durable good that either could be very susceptible to accidents, or, you know, the consumer really wants to know that that item has a long life ahead of it. Just like, you know, if you're investing in a really nice coffee maker or toaster oven or air fryer, those are very hot right now, whatever it is. Yeah. And then, of course, consumer electronics. And that consumer electronics, I feel like, is the category that's most associated with this area. You know, people invest in whatever electronic item they want to get, and you really want to expect that item works for a long time. So that's obviously a big category as well.
Yeah, you don't want to take no chances when you spend and drop a lot of money on a phone or on TV or whatever. Yeah, I totally get it. So I'm a very big fan of customer experience, and in my opinion, this warranty and insurance layer of it, it's actually not so spoken about in terms of customer experience, but it's a very big part of it, in my opinion. Like, I had in another episode previously, I had Kelly Slesser from ShopU, and she said something brilliant that stuck in my head, got stuck in my head, and she said like everything that happens that's associated with the purchase is the brand's fault. Undoubtedly, it's the brand's fault. So if you buy whatever, I don't know when the delivery guy is gonna kick that box at your door, it's gonna be the brand's fault. So yep. I think in the whole journey of a customer, the customer experience is often just reduced to the website and shopping experience. And as you correctly indicated earlier, the post-purchase experience, which is what I do for a living, is where, you know, things are actually irrelevant if for that customer to stay with you or not on during a lifetime or whatever that lifetime would be. So what would you say? It's okay, we're gonna cut this at this.
Sorry, okay. I muted.
It's fine. This is the life of live podcast. It's fine. I will cut this at the end. So I just want to know what, in your opinion, besides what you guys are doing in terms of warranty and insurance for products which create safety and convenience and, you know, some sort of comfort in consumers, what do you think are other layers of customer experience that are overlooked by e-commerce brands nowadays?
Yeah, so I mean, to your point, like, it's crazy because there are so many more companies than ever before that are involved in the customer experience, you know, a single item. There's so many companies that the customers obviously never hear about, may know, and generally, if anything goes right, also with any of the vendors or moments or technologies will reflect first brand retailer that they bought from, and that's the responsibility that these retailers are taking on, because consumers don't understand the complexity. We're trying to make this journey as seamless as possible so it feels cohesive, so it doesn't feel like you're engaging with 25 different companies over the course of your whole journey. But then that introduces that if there is a problem, it typically reflects first on the brand. So, you know, retailers and merchants have to be more careful than ever when they're choosing their vendors and choosing their partners to be part of this journey, that they're choosing vendors that care just as much, if not more, about the customer journey and customer experience, and have processes and SLAs in place to deal with things when things go wrong, because inevitably they will. You can never get to a place where everything will be perfect. So making sure that you have those processes in place when things go wrong is so critical. So, I mean, obviously, I think the whole moment around delivery was a big leveling up opportunity for retailers during COVID, as delivery timelines were extended and it was completely out of the retailer's control. I think a lot of retailers realized they needed to level up their transparency and kind of updates and progress updates for consumers around delivery. And it wasn't just enough anymore to estimate a delivery date and kind of leave it at that. because those weren't as accurate anymore. So that was a huge moment, I think, of leveling up, and a lot of retailers are still in the process of doing that. I think certainly as it relates to the products that Mulberry sells, leveling up kind of the options that consumers have to protect their purchase is still a huge area of opportunity for a lot of retailers. Being more transparent and clear with what comes with the manufacturer or limited warranty, if anything, what's, and then the SLAs associated with that. And then, of course, offering extended protection options is really, really critical. And I think to your point around personalization, that is a huge area that retailers have been up a lot in, which is, I think a few years ago, there was a big trend in kind of throwing everything in the kitchen sink at consumers. Do you want to buy this? Do you want to buy this? Do you want to buy this? And what they found is, cognitive overload with the consumer, having too many options and being overwhelming could be a real turnoff and could, hurt conversion rates and, actually lose consumers' interest altogether. So as we learn more about our consumers, their actions, giving them fewer options that are more personalized and more designed to meet their needs is a great opportunity for retailers to create a much nicer, customer journey there as well. So those are a few examples. There's so many ways. Inventory constraints, that's another example that was introduced by COVID. So many retailers having inventory issues, having problems keeping things in stock. How do you engage with the consumers when you don't have anything for them to buy in the moment, right? And how can you create a nice experience around pre-sale or pre-purchasing things, or how can you keep your consumers engaged while they wait for items? Peloton had a lot of issues with this. Peloton had their best year ever, but also they had challenges that they never had before related to inventory and obviously service timelines as well with getting things installed. So many opportunities. Those are just a few areas that, retailers really have the opportunity to kind of level up around the customer journey.
So in your opinion right now, I look at the market, you see a lot of retailers, a lot of brick and mortars, right, that are moving to the direct-to-consumer space. And I guess to your constellation with Mulberry, the retailers are used to giving a warranty because you can get that in the store. You buy a product, you get that in the store. So they won't have issues adopting your solution while going online. But still, since there is such a rise of retailers trying to go to direct-to-consumer space, what do you think are the biggest challenges that they have? And what's your take on this trend that's happening right now?
Yeah, I think it's amazing that a lot more brands are getting out of just kind of the constant reseller cycle and trying to go direct to consumer. There's a lot of challenges that come with that. First of all, brand awareness and just getting a following for your brand, especially if traditionally you've sold, through Amazon or another reseller, I think is number one, because it can be very expensive, and it can be, when you're starting from square one with direct to consumer marketing, you don't have a lot of the foundational knowledge and research around who your consumer set is, especially the consumer set that's going to be most efficient for you to spend your money on and go directly to. You don't have a ton of information probably on your lifetime value and things like that. So it's difficult to know as you start getting into new marketing channels, when you are going direct to consumer, kind of where to spend your money and what's going to be worthwhile, what's going to show you ROI. All you can do there is start, right? All you can do there is start, try out different channels and see how it goes. It's going to take experimentation. It's going to take time. Having, a good idea of your brand voice and image going into that is really important, so you don't have to shift later on, which can obviously undo some of the investment that you've already made and time you've already spent on it. So I think that's probably the first challenge. The second challenge is going to be getting all of the infrastructure and tools in place that if you were previously reselling through a distribution partner, were already taken care of. So, if you were, selling inventory to a distribution partner and then they were taking care of everything from there, there was probably a lot of vendors and technologies that they already had in place that just took care of a lot of things for you, both around shipping and fulfillment, and, all the customer journey elements that we've kind of been discussing post-purchase, especially. So getting those in place, obviously, if you work with an e-commerce platform that has a lot of partners or apps or what have you, that's a great first place to look. Because assuming, if you don't have a full-time engineering staff or maybe even a dedicated engineer at all, using things that are out of the box, seamlessly integrate with your existing e-commerce platform is going to be a really big deal. And obviously that's something that Shopify really did well, is that they recognized that not only did the actual standing up of the e-commerce shop and website need to be easy and seamless, but all of the tangential technologies that needed to plug into it also needed to be equally as seamless. And the way they did that was building just an enormous, partnership program with lots of apps that are very easy to get, up and running without needing technical resource. So, choosing the right e-commerce platform for you from the beginning that gives you the flexibility you're going to want as you scale and grow, but also has, a lot of plug and play type options, I think is really, really, really important. And then I think another challenge, obviously, is the customer support side, right? If you're starting an e-commerce shop for the first time, making sure that you're standing up all the necessary customer support in a way that's scalable, but also not overkill for the stage of business that you're in and the amount of business that you're getting. It's really important. I do think building it in-house is critical. Outsourcing support is tricky. Obviously, you're going global. It could be a good option from the start, but starting to build that practice in-house, I think is really, really valuable. So, and important just to make sure you have kind of full control of it. So those are a few areas I think of initial consideration for either a retailer that's going from brick and mortar to e-commerce, or a retailer that's going from only exclusively using distribution partners to selling directly online. But there's lots to think about. But there's more tools and resources out there than ever before for folks to take advantage of.
So what
that's
are some of your favorite tools? What are some of your favorite tools besides what you guys are doing? What's your top 3 favorite tools that are available right now for merchants?
Oh my gosh. It's tough for me to choose individual brands. I think instead I'll plead the fifth, because we have a lot of partners and stuff, and choose kind of what are the top tools that you want to think of getting early on. Obviously, your e-commerce platform is number one. And Shopify's obviously done an incredible job. There's lots of other options out there too, and headless implementations are obviously now getting really hot, giving yourself more flexibility down the line. So choosing the right one there's lots of great options. We have retailers that love Magento, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, even Wix is leveling up their e-commerce abilities. And those are just the big ones. There's a lot of great ones out there. I think the second, another really important technology that you want to invest in is whatever kind of your back-end fulfillment system is going to be, whether you're going with a more traditional mess, or just a fulfillment provider, depending on kind of the complexity of what you're selling versus having to do a full-scale ERP system. And definitely also a really good email platform. Most of our retailers work with Klaviyo or MailChimp are really popular, but something that's super flexible out of the box so you can create incredible customer engagement and journeys right from the start. I think that's a really important one. Obviously, choosing a reviews provider. I used to work in reviews, so I always advocate, but the sooner you start collecting reviews, the sooner you have a lot. And reviews are absolutely critical, to be able to sell nowadays online and to build that credibility. So, you really want to start collecting reviews from the very, very beginning. Even if it's scary, I know inviting the feedback is scary, but it's really important. You got to build them up. So those are some of my favorite technologies. I know I'm not specific brands, but there's so many great vendors out there. Yeah,
it's a lot of opportunity in the market right now, when the e-commerce tech and the market in e-commerce has been exploding in the last 3 years, and I think we're experiencing some amazing amazing growth in e-commerce. And talking about that, I want to know, because we're heading to the end, and I just want to like ask my last question, work related, because then I want to just ask you something more personal. So the last question regarding the e-commerce part is like, what are like some things that really excite you right now when it comes to the e-commerce industry, given everything that's happening with the Facebook, iOS, the third-party data extinction, whatever is happening right now in e-commerce,
Yeah.
what is something that really excites you?
Yeah. I think, oh man, I think two things that really excite me about like what's coming in commerce. One is the whole creating really experiential and just really interesting customer journeys that don't end with receiving your item, right? The whole idea of having a community built into your customer base to offering services or how-tos or workout classes, whatever it might be, is so cool. And I love to see that more retailers are getting creative with how they can continue to engage with customers past the point of delivery. And there's just so much opportunity there. And the types of brand fans and advocates that you can build when you continue to engage with your customers in a really interesting way and continue to add value to their lives beyond the point of delivery is really exciting. I mean, you see people out there like, all of the Peloton users out there that are sharing their favorite Peloton classes and instructors, like they're obviously not getting paid to do so. And I doubt they're even being asked to do so. They're just doing it because they love it so much. And it's become part of their life and part of their identity as a consumer and as a person. And that's just like so freaking amazing. So I can't wait to see what else people do. And even as a consumer myself, if I love something that I buy, I want to engage with them in more interesting ways. I want to advocate for them. So if a brand gives me the opportunity to do so, I'm excited to take advantage of it. So I think that's probably the area that I'm most excited about. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds awesome. So, talking about excitement, I always ask this, at the end, we have been through some crazy years, and it's like the last 15 to 16 months have been a mess. So working from home, separated team, everything, that's happening right now. How do you feel as a human being outside of e-commerce? What do you do to handle, all the stress of working remotely and I guess being away from your team and lockdowns and children and online school? So what are some things that you learned to do to cope better with all the craziness around that you can share with our audience? Maybe they can learn something that they can, use to cope themselves.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, it has been a journey, definitely. I think some of the things that have personally helped me is, first of all, just like looking at all of our relationships a different way. When you aren't able to be physically with people, it's just made us so much more just refocus on relationships that are really important through just staying in touch and new and different ways that you can stay in touch, with both family and friends, and just having a lot of gratitude for those relationships and all of the ways that technology nowadays can allow us to stay in touch has been really, really amazing. I think also taking for granted, like just spending time, even with, your coworkers, because so many of us that did work in an office setting before and are now forced to be remote. You can't as much take for granted the time that you spend with your coworkers, just finding out more about them, and vibing as kind of people and not just getting things done at work. So spending dedicated time getting to know your coworkers has been really, really nice, especially because so many people did start new jobs or new work journeys during COVID. So what that kind of looks like. And I think, it's interesting because a lot of the things I'm referencing is saying, being thankful for technology and allowing us to be in touch in new ways, but also the time that this has given us to actually get offline and spend time at home and with our obviously immediate families we are with all the time, and just finding new ways to engage with our families that, isn't centered around technology has been really amazing as well. So I guess a lot of it's just around relationships and what's actually important to keeping relationships going and moving forward and feeling close and connected to people, whether it's from work or family or friends or your kids. I've had so much time to spend with my son, and it's been so amazing to spend that time and to just really have dedicated time to watch him grow up. Although also very challenging at times as well, obviously. So
Yeah.
just, being really intentional about how we spend our time and keep everything in balance. So I don't know if that's exactly answering your question, but those are some of the things that have really been important to me over the past 12 months. And hopefully things that
No,
will stay
I'm
with
with
me,
you.
even
I'm with you 100%. I think we kind of like started to, besides, consolidating relationships or rediscovering relationships, we also, I guess, had more time to rediscover ourselves and how we perceive different things or how we see different things. So I guess it was like more of an introspection period in a way. Besides all the crazy mess and the ugly part of it, I think it was also a chance for us to deal with our own shit, because you get to see yourself, and you're it's like there's no more escape, and I think all of us have learned a lot of lessons throughout this last months. So because we reached the end, I wanna ask you, where can people find you, where they can get in touch with you to learn more about Mulberry, because we have a lot of merchants
Yeah.
listening to the podcast, so I'm sure they would be more interested to learn how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, no, definitely. And even if it's not about Mulberry, I obviously like to talk about e-commerce and nerd out and geek out with people that are into it as well. So yeah, please connect. My email is just Jordan, Jordan, spelled like the country or like Michael, at getmulberry.com, or I'm on LinkedIn, Jordan Garner, Garner. Hit me up, connect with me. I'm on social media too, but I would say emailing me or hitting me up on LinkedIn is probably the best way to get in touch. But yeah, of course, if you're a merchant, even if you're not sure if you're ready to offer a program like this, feel free to reach out and we can have an informal chat. We're also hiring a lot, a shameless plug for hiring. We have
That's
all
fine.
kinds of roles, all engineering. So please, if you want a really cool job and work with a really smart group of people, hit me up.
That's awesome. I'm gonna make sure to leave a note in the episode, in the episode notes with your careers page, and just send people
Thank
to your
you.
careers page. No problem, no problem. Glad to be of help.
That
Thank
would
you
be
so
great.
much. This was fun, and we managed to cover a lot of topics. So thank you so much for your time, for being here. And thank you everyone for watching today. Jordan's episode is for the people that are gonna see the recording probably on YouTube tonight. The episode is gonna be available on all the platforms, as you guys know, tomorrow. So thank you so much for being here, Jordan. I appreciate your time. I hope you enjoyed it as well. And yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much for having me. Take care, everybody.
Bye.